The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he said. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right. We are live here in WTNB Studios, and you can catch us on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. That's FM here in Cleveland, Tennessee. If you're going to watch us on WTNB, you need to tune in to digital TV station 27.1, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. Today, it's week 3 of Man Up America. We're going to have the shrink Rob Alderman with us in the studio in a little bit. Of course, Tuesday's all about headlines, and man, do we have some headlines today. But I did want to say, the end of last week, we did our Man Up episode on Thursday, the call-in episode, or the text-in, or, we live in a new age of communication. And there once was a time which we called into a radio station. I remember, even now, you tune in and people call in to Dave Ramsey. People call in to radio personalities. We're like a text and Facebook message community. It's really weird. Because I keep telling folks, he'll send me a text, and I'm like, call into the show. We want to hear your words. I don't want to just have to regurgitate them. I ain't calling in. Hey, man, talk about this. Hey, have you thought about that? That's what we get. That's what we get. We get through these text messages. And if you're one of those people that you'd rather text than call, that's fine. You can send us comments anytime. Comments, manuptalk@gmail.com. Or you can send it to us on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/manuptalk, and we'll get your message, okay? Just send us a private message. A lot of you gave a lot of good feedback on some upcoming episodes last week. Let me go over the 2 big things I took out of last week. Number 1 was I told you we had an upcoming special on guns, on firearms. And I asked you to send in what you thought was important to you, and we had a groundswell of people saying, hey, talk about this. Have you considered this? I'd like to hear more on this. And so many of you honed in on a particular area related to firearm policy that related to quote-unquote assault rifles, which we take up that moniker in that show. And so our very first firearm special is going to be about what you wanted to hear. There was enough support, enough comments coming in from that for us to decide that we're actually probably going to do a series on that. We won't do them back-to-back. It gets too monotonous, but we are going to do a series on that. So we got our first show coming up next Tuesday, firearm special next Tuesday. So Tuesday won't be about headlines. We're actually going to air that specialty episode. And I encourage you to tune in next Tuesday because this is why. We're going to talk about the form and functionality of AR-15s. And of AK-47s, and we're going to compare those to hunting rifles. And we're actually going to talk about, legislation and policy related to those specific firearms and how it's different than other firearms. So we're going to actually go over the form and function of those firearms. We'll have those firearms in the studio. You'll be able to see them if you're viewing us on WTNB. If you're listening to us on the radio, that's fine. Listen in, tune in. You'll be able to hear because we're going to accurately describe the differences in those weapons and how that has affected public policy and our firearms culture here in the South. You can, if you're listening on the radio, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, you can always go to WTNB or Man Up Talk's YouTube page or Facebook page and see the video later on. So I'm going to encourage you next week for the firearms special to tune in, listen in. But once that link is up, once the video is up, and it's up for all to see, give you a chance to go actually view it and share it with your friends. I think it's going to be a very informative episode. The second thing out of last week was Thursday for the call-in show, back to the call-in show, or the text-in show, or the message-in show, whatever we're going to call it. we talked about youth sports. And we led that show with an article that discussed how youth sports regulatory agencies were cracking down on youth league pitching. They're cracking down on the fact that a lot of young pitchers are having Tommy John surgery too early and are being overpitched in a game. Now, I told you as a coach and as a parent, this is something I've always regulated with my children and with my players. I don't want kids pitching too much. They wear themselves out. We led with that story, but we ended that program discussing openly some of the controversy related to youth sports because we were talking about child development. We were talking about the importance of youth sports and the importance of a development opportunity for youth sports, the importance of being able to develop, of building camaraderie. And I spoke very openly about how here in Bradley County we have a youth program, both city and county, that allows kids to mix and learn sportsmanship. It allows them to play against each other at an early age, but that's changing in the sport of basketball. It's already changed with football. And we talked a little bit openly about that. In tomorrow's show, Wednesday's show, we're going to have representatives of the county program in here. Andy Lockhart's going to be in the studio. And Coach McCown, Cleveland High School, who's been a big part of opening and transitioning to the City League, is going to provide his comments. Also on that show, we're going to have some feedback from some folks who actually work and train kids in the youth baseball arena. And that feedback's going to, I think, give us a little bit better insight on the training side of things. So on the training side of things, we're going to hear from, we're going to hear from Steve Andrews, and or he works with Dr. Andrews. We're going to hear with Steve, who actually runs Baseball Mission, and they do youth training with baseball, and he's going to give his 2 cents on the whole Tommy Johns thing. So tomorrow we've got a great show. Next Tuesday we have a great show. And like I told you last week, this Thursday, Steve Watson of Monster House fame, it has had several other TV programs with TLC and the DIY Network, will be in the studio with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about TV, construction. And Steve's a pretty political guy. He's got his 2 cents on the presidential race, so we'll see what he thinks about the presidential race coming up. But Steve Watson will be in the studio here on Thursday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, man, the next 3 days of Man Up America, the next 3 episodes are going to be epic. We want you to tune in. Once again, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB here in Bradley County, Southeast Tennessee. All right, let's get to our headlines. To get to one of our headlines, the shrink Rob Alderman's going to join us here momentarily, but we're actually going to call our illustrious district attorney, Steve Crump, here in a moment. And I'm going to lead with this headline as Rob makes his way to the mic. What's up, shrink Rob Alderman?
Sup?
We're going to lead with this headline, and I'm actually I'm going to start this video. And Rob, I don't know if you've even seen this, but I'm going to play this video.
They've given me like a new thing that I can do in here. I've got a computer with some stuff where I'm.
Is this the Apple Festival video? I don't know. You tell me. What's up? We're not doing the Apple Festival.
Yeah, the Apple Festival video's happening right now.
Oh, it's kind of an overlay. That's kind of creepy. Hey, cool.
Yeah, look at that.
All right, we'll get to that.
He whispered to me, "Have you ever used ProPresenter?" I was like, "No, let's do it anyway."
We will get. Actually, while you're here,
By the way, hey, time out. No, I've got a complaint.
Okay, comments at Man Up Talk.
I was watching our video. Listen, just because I'm the shrink Rob Alderman and I show up late on most episodes of this show doesn't mean my voice should be so much more quieter than yours.
You need to talk into the microphone.
Look at this, people at home or whatever.
And listen, you're leveling up today. Why? Because I anticipated your indirect speak. You do that both literally and metaphorically.
Is that true? I'm doing it right now, don't I? Man, it is my fault.
All right, so
okay. Well, I'm going to try to get this right for you.
Now, what we're going to do because the master is here, our technician is here, Mr. Producer.
Yeah,
Mr. Producer.
Mr. Producer.
You're going to assist because we've not done this on this show yet. Okay, we've not done this. We're actually, and for those of you in Radio Land, I promise you, I will get this video up on the Facebook page and with WTNB to where you can go and actually watch it.
The Apple Festival video?
It's my app. Yeah, okay. So at the Apple Festival, which was this past weekend, which if you do not partake in the Apple Festival, you're missing out on probably my favorite event.
Yeah, it's for real. It's so wonderful.
Now, I say that as someone who loves to eat until I'm nauseous.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, it's
you want to know what the thing is? People don't know. There's a secret thing. I probably shouldn't even say it.
Is it the tunnel? Or you're not going to talk about the tunnel? Are there apples in the tunnel?
Listen, there's all these foods. All these foods. And, of course, the foods you're looking for the most are the apple foods, right? The stuff that's made with apple. Really, really early on day one, if you're lucky, you can get these apple cider donuts that these little Methodist church ladies make. And I have family that comes up every year from Indianapolis and goes super early just to buy all of them and take them back.
We're suckers for the cider.
It's good, right?
Apple Valley Orchards, Chuck McSpadden. Here's your free plug. You're not a sponsor of the show, but I'm going to plug you.
That's right. Maybe next year, though. Maybe next year.
Have the best apple cider.
That's good.
We go to Mercer. We go to a lot of orchards. Okay, but I was at the Apple Festival for really one primary reason.
Right.
Which was to eat until I was nauseated.
Right.
Okay. But along the way, we just figured we'd take a camera and a microphone.
Oh, okay.
And we would see...
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Producer, I've got to push this on-air button for Pro Presenter.
You want me to hit the thing now?
I do. Let's
All right,
show.
I'm going to hit the thing.
Do we have audio?
I just hit this thing.
I mean, is it coming? Is it going to pass?
It says
audio?
Apple Festival.
Would you say 9 and 10? We'll try it. If not,
It's
I'll
going.
play
I
the
already
audio.
clicked it. Look.
It's doing something funny on the broadcast display, though.
I see you, though, with your camera. You're walking around. It's completely packed.
I'm here with a house divided. Tennessee, Bama. Who's going to win the game today?
Tennessee, roll tide.
Okay, so I'm going to play the
roll
audio.
tide.
How about that?
All right, so the big question is Trump or Hillary?
Okay, I'm going to turn this off.
Trump.
The only two Florida Gator fans who haven't realized that
We
Hurricane
gave it a shot.
Matthew
We're going to
is
get it
over.
up on Facebook, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to get it up on Facebook. But let's go to the audio here.
If I knew whether you or myself were on screen, I could click a thing that says The Good Dr. J. Adam, and it would show up in the bottom third.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, is the camera on you right now?
Okay, so I was watching the morning show here on WTNB yesterday.
Yeah.
And they're ragging me about this Good Doctor name, which I realized I've never really told folks how I acquired this label.
Okay.
And it's not nearly as profound and insightful and kind to me as everyone thinks it might be.
No, that makes sense.
But we'll do that at a later date. That's a tease.
I know how I
teaser?
I know how I got the shrink. It was because there was somebody in here named J-Rob already. And you were like, so you're the shrink because her name has already got the word Rob.
You were very Freudian that day.
Oh, my.
Well, tell me how you feel about your mother.
You're very Freudian. So here's what I'm going to do. Here's the tease. I'm going to be on the morning show tomorrow morning. That starts at 9 o'clock, right?
Are you going to be plugging this show?
Mr. Producer, 9 o'clock, right? We'll plug this show a little bit. But I will explain exactly how I came by the nickname The Good Doctor.
That's good. I think you should.
How I came by that nickname. And it's rather humorous. And I'll say this. There are personalities involved that are also currently involved in the constable dispute in Bradley County.
I didn't even know there was a constable dispute.
That's not even in our headlines. We might get there. We'll go. All right, let's play this video from the Apple Festival.
All right, play it.
All right, this is a video from the Apple Festival. And once again, we were at the Apple Festival here in Cleveland, Tennessee, and we just went around. We wanted to talk to some people, so we did. It's coming, I promise. We'll turn it to where the shrink can see it.
I'm here with a house divided. Tennessee, Bama. Who's going to win the game today?
Tennessee, roll tide.
Roll tide, roll tide. All right, so the big question is Trump or Hillary?
Trump.
Trump. The only two Florida Gator fans who haven't realized that Hurricane Matthew is over. Why are you still in our state? America, has anyone ever told you you favor Bill Clinton?
A time or two, yeah.
Now, are we going to call him the first dude? If you were the real Bill Clinton, what would you want to be called?
Mr. Clinton.
Mr. Clinton. Are you supporting Donald or Hillary in the presidential election?
Donald.
Donald. If you could have Donald Trump win the presidency or Tennessee win a national championship, which would you take?
Tennessee national championship.
The big matchup, Donald or Hillary?
Donald.
Donald. Okay. If Donald Trump could be elected president or the Alabama Crimson Tide could win a national championship, which would you take?
Alabama Crimson Tide.
Hillary or Donald?
Donald.
Donald. If Donald could be president or the Vols could win a national championship, which would you take?
National championship.
You'd take a national championship. So who's going to win in just a few weeks?
We're going to have Hillary Clinton voted in on November the 8th.
November the 8th, Hillary Clinton. For all you Trump guys, November the 9th is when the election is, right?
That sounds good to me.
That sounds good to you. Now you're supporting Hillary Clinton. Let's be real. It's because you know that if you don't, you might wind up mysteriously missing from a back alley. What about the Gary Johnson vote? Does Gary Johnson have your vote?
I'm thinking very seriously about it.
He's thinking seriously about Gary Johnson. You guys got to get on it.
Most of my clients have fibromyalgia, lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, gout, peripheral neuropathy.
Now, what if I have a severe case of Trumpitis? Will this deal with the Trumpitis that is permeating my veins?
Well, I'm not sure what could help with that at this time. However,
I heard Tic Tacs help.
Well, maybe.
Who's going to win the next presidential election, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Of course, right there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Question with the California in my mouth. Question number one. Donald or Hillary?
I pray Donald.
You pray Donald. Would you allow Donald to take you on a date and share a Tic Tac?
No.
No, it wasn't Tic Tac. Not gonna have it. Not gonna have it here. Will you allow Donald to take you on a date and share a Tic Tac and a side hug?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. There you go. Word from the. Now Bernie Sanders said I could have it for free.
Maybe later on.
All right. What about Gary Johnson?
I don't know too much about him.
I don't either. You know, I saw him down at the Piggly Wiggly one day, but you know, he was trying to buy weed, and I was like, "It's not in Tennessee, buddy." So be truthful. You're actually voting for Hillary Clinton because you know that if you don't, you might wind up mysteriously dead. Am I right? I think if we get enough likes on the give up a Tennessee championship to elect Trump, he's going to sing Rocky Top at the inauguration.
There we go.
Hey, listen.
There's the Apple Festival.
Yeah, listen. You've missed your true calling.
What, man on the street?
Listen. I've always thought you had very minimal skills. But you have a skill, friend. There's a skill that you possess that I've never seen before. And you are the man on the street. That was amazing.
We'll get that video up.
That's the best thing I've seen all day.
At Facebook.com, Man Up Talk. We'll get it up with WTNB.
They didn't know what to do with you when you said they were going to show up missing at the Hillary Clinton booth, man. That was fantastic. And that lady's face when you asked her if she'd share a Tic Tac and a side hug. Oh, man.
But, you know, the verdict was in. We would rather have a Vols national championship.
By far.
Than a Trump.
It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. I like Trump, but go Vols.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, that's the good folks.
I like how so many of them used his first name.
Yeah, Donald.
Donald. What?
You do realize it's Donald Trump, not Donald Duck, right?
Oh, man.
Oh yeah, I mean that was just
beautiful.
Listen, I had a great time out there. So just a great time. All right, so I'm going to play.
That's the best thing we've done on this show.
I'm going to play another clip that was actually from CNN, which is going to lead our headlines today, and then we're going to call our illustrious DA Steve Crump before the break.
Okay.
And get his 2 cents on them. But here's the headline. Evidently, according to CNN, well, let me just play the clip. Here we go.
Okay.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us. And in full disclosure, let's take a look at what is in there and what it means. Joining us now, CNN.
So that was Chris Cuomo on CNN, which says the big news over the weekend. Last weekend was dump on Trump weekend, and
Right.
this past weekend was dump on Hillary weekend.
Right, yeah.
WikiLeaks, or take a leak on Hillary, is really what took place this weekend.
Yeah, it really was.
And so Chris Cuomo on CNN says that it's illegal for the public to possess these stolen documents, but it's not illegal for the media, and the media is different. Now, the last time I checked, the First Amendment was freedom of speech, and there's freedom of speech and press, right?
Correct.
And they're not necessarily, even though they're mentioned separately,
They're not super different.
they're not super different. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm
Right.
not an attorney. So I'm calling Steve Crump, our illustrious district attorney, and I'm going to ask him, if I possess a WikiLeaks document, am I subject to prosecution or indictment? So let's get him
Our
on the
show's
phone.
getting so much better. Remember I told you we'll find our thing?
Here it
I
is.
feel like today we might be finding our thing.
So let's get Steve Crump on the phone.
That's good.
Hey, I got a question because the last time they can't hear me, can they? They can only hear you.
I think so.
Because I was saying something. I was asking a question of somebody.
It's Steve Crump?
Adam?
Is this our illustrious DA, Steve
There we
Crump?
go. I hear him.
Can you hear me?
Adam?
Steve, can you hear me? How about this? Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, he can hear me. All right, we're going to try to get this working, Steve. Hold on one second. Of course, this would happen when I've got the district attorney on the phone. All right, here we go. Can you still hear me? All right, Steve. So we just played a clip from CNN that said if I possess WikiLeaks documents, that the media can possess them because they're held under a different standard than the public. Is that correct?
Well, I think I'm not entirely certain that that is correct. I think the illegal possession of classified materials by any group would not necessarily, sorry about that, I'm walking down the street, would not necessarily be legal. However, there may very well be some journalistic protections involved, but I think I'm not sure that you would even, under that set of circumstances, don't believe you would ever see a news source prosecuted for the possession of them.
Well, here's my question. What about the freedom of speech and press? And are there degrees of protection for things like this for the media that the public does not have, which is what Chris Cuomo essentially said. He said it's illegal for the public to possess these documents, but not the media.
I am not aware of any, but then again, I'm not a First Amendment lawyer from the perspective of a newspaper or something like that. The possession of classified materials is something that's controlled by federal statute, both the definition of it and the definition of who can possess classified materials. And I am unaware of any specific protection related to those. Again, that being said, I think there may be more cost, at least from the government's perspective, in prosecuting a newspaper for possession of them, whereas they would much rather find out how they actually arrived at possessing these documents.
Well, you kind of answered the second question, which was, wouldn't it be those who actually stole the documents who would be of greater concern than those who just ended up with them? But it's interesting. I've told people that I don't necessarily think Julian Assange is my friend or the friend of America. What's your take on the legitimacy of what he releases?
Well, honestly, I think the people who steal the documents from the United States government and those who release them are traitors to this nation. Just that simple. I thought it when it involved George W. Bush, and more importantly, sorry, I'm getting another call. But I think it no less here. I think somebody who will willfully publish and disseminate the secret documents of this nation, not only statutorily but morally, is a traitor to this country and should be prosecuted.
All right, Mr. District Attorney, thank you for answering our questions on Man Up America.
Ask
I know you
him
got
real
a call.
quick. I know he can't hear me. I'm sorry, Mr. Crump. One quick question though. Do you feel that? Are you saying you feel that way about the news outlets who end up with not the people who steal them, but the news like the press that then releases this to the public? That's
you disseminate a secret document of the United States. I don't care who you are. I believe that you're a criminal. There are ways to do this. There are freedom of information requests that are available. If you don't believe that you got the right answer from the government, you can sue the government to have it released. If you put our outside, if you put men and women who work for this nation at risk abroad, who are either acting in a covert capacity or frankly are working as an ambassador or anything else for this nation, and you do it for any reason, in my opinion, because let's just be real. The newspapers and the media these days, there's very little, for the most part, there's very little concern about true freedom of the press. It's about web clicks, and it's about sales, and it's about media buys, and it's about advertisers. I'm sorry. I don't believe that if you deal in the classified documents of this nation that you should receive some protection just because in your mind, subjectively, you're serving a higher purpose.
Mr. DA, we appreciate you on Man Up America, sir. We'll have you in the studio very soon. The tongue-in-cheek nature of this show would fit your personality. We'll let you let your hair down, what little's left in the near future.
Take long.
All right. Thank you so much, Steve. All right, there's your district attorney's opinion. He said he's not a First Amendment lawyer, but
yeah,
and I get where he's coming from, putting people in danger. I was kind of shocked at Chris Como saying, "Hey, listen, if I'm a member of the media, I'm held to a different standard with regards to what is or what isn't classified material and what I can and can't possess."
Yeah.
So that's a little weird to me. We're going to take a break. Once again, we're on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. When we come back, we've got more headlines. The Shrink Rob Alderman in the studio. Tune in to WTNB. We'll get that video of the Apple Festival up very, very soon. We'll be back in a second.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations. Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The good Dr. J. Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Man Up America. Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. J. Adam sent you. We're back here on Man Up America. We just had our illustrious DA on the phone to comment on
he's a nice guy.
The WikiLeaks stuff. So, Steve brought up some good points. He said,
I thought he did too.
If you acquire something, no matter how true it is, through an illegal means, you are in essence a criminal. Now, isn't that the same argument we make?
Traitor.
Well,
he was for real about it.
We don't like to use the word traitor anymore.
No, I get it. I understand why he's using it. I'm saying he was not confused about his opinion.
Well, I felt that way about Edward Snowden.
That's why I asked him to clarify, because I wasn't sure if he's talking about the people who had taken the documents or the people who were releasing them. And I'm glad he clarified, said nope.
Well, I think we use that same argument, if you think about it, for illegal immigration, that even if you come over here with good intentions, you still came by an illegal means.
Right.
And so there's a lot of folks who use that same logic, so it's not just compartmentalized to this issue. But he makes a point. But then again, if I'm a media outlet, and if someone has acquired information illegally, to what degree do whistleblower protections protect media?
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it, and maybe this is because, of course, I am in the media a lot, and was a journalist for a while, and a PR person for a while. But he said something interesting, Doc, that I kind of think we do need to contend with as a society, which is, he said, it's not news anyway, it's just clicks and sound bites and media, right? And I think that's the problem you get into when journalism is bought and sold. And the reason it's bought and sold the way it is because if you release something now that powerful people don't like, then you go to prison for it. And so I think to a certain extent, right, news outlets are actually, right, beholden to what is newsworthy, not what is, not how information was attained or this or that. And don't get me wrong, I want to be very, very clear, right? I think that releasing stuff that puts men and women who are in service of this country in danger is an awful thing, right? But we're talking about a huge, huge country that we're running with rights and protections for all sorts of people that are trying to do all sorts of things. You always have to say, well, if I make this thing illegal for a journalist to do, then ergo it makes this other thing illegal, right? And so you have to be very, very careful. We can't ask our journalists in this country to be watchdogs, right? Which that is their function, truly is supposed to be their function. And then we prosecute those watchdogs, and we wonder why all we have are bought and sold puppet people.
Now, we recently had a situation where a journalist...
And it's complicated, that's all I'm saying.
A journalist protesting a pipeline...
Yes.
Was brought up on riot charges, but yesterday those were dismissed.
And they were dismissed. And it was a great thing. And it was a great thing for America. Yeah. And it was the kind of thing that makes journalists want to be good journalists.
So let's look at this freedom of speech issue one degree further, because it was interesting. I'm on the Facebook yesterday.
You got on that face page. You and me both yesterday.
I got on that face page, and I saw a friend of mine who is overtly liberal.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we don't comment on one another's stuff because it just doesn't go anywhere.
Sure.
But we love each other.
Yeah.
In good Christian love.
That's good.
And he had posted pretty much his dissent with Chris Cuomo's thing, saying if we don't have freedom of speech and purity of freedom of press, we have nothing. And then the very next post is Governor Bevin of Kentucky
saying his thing,
and this same person
he didn't like it,
calling for him to be arrested as a traitor.
Yeah, he didn't like it, right? He didn't like it.
So he's saying you can steal documents and release them, and you're not a traitor, but if you say, hey guys, we won our freedom through bloodshed and tears and torment,
right,
and that may happen again, all of a sudden you're a traitor.
Right, yeah. I'll say this. I'm going to man up. Ready? Here I am manning up on this very topic. I don't like what Bevin said. I actually thought it was irresponsible.
Bevin,
sorry.
Bevin.
Anyway, Bevin, sorry. I don't like what he said. That was actually not super new news. Like, he said it a while back. I was surprised when I saw it on your Facebook.
Well, let's say what he said before you keep
It was
going.
its second time on your
around.
Facebook. Yeah.
Well, not on mine. No, it wasn't the second time.
Oh, I
on
thought
mine.
it was the
No,
second
not
time
the
on
second time on mine. But let me read just from the article.
Sure. Was it felt in this particular time, especially when we have a presidential nominee who is already sowing the kind of the semantics of rigged elections and right, it's like everything right now is I'm going to rise up against my brother. It's like all this, it's like a Civil War rhetoric that's going on right now. And so certainly, right, taken in his context, right, it's not much different than when we said, what would you be willing to take a knee for? Mm-hmm. Right? That's really what he's saying. What he's saying is, where is the line drawn? And then he's saying, historically, there were times in America where that line actually was drawn at bloodshed. Right? So within the context of the speech, right, then I can understand what he's saying. And I'm not even saying that I disagree with it. But there's things you can do and things you should do in this world. And right now, we and our leaders, the people who've been elected into leadership, need to be about the business of uniting this country. And we need to not be telling one segment of our population that it's time to start thinking about maybe we have to rise up against these people. And that doesn't mean agree with them. Right?
Well,
I'm so sick of lazy. I'm so tired of lazy.
Well, and that was kind of my general response to this. And having heard him at the RNC, I'm obviously a little more kind to him because I felt what he said at the RNC. And he mentions bloodshed, but what we don't do is we automatically assume he's calling for an aggression to arms.
Right.
But he really didn't lay it out that way. He talked about a defense. That, he used it from a defensive perspective, and this is kind of what I responded to someone. I said, a lot of people are sobering up to the drug that is American idealism.
Yeah.
They're coming off of that high.
Right.
And society is fragile, and a growing populace is demanding and putting a strain on that fabric. And this sounds just like something out of Atlas Shrugged, but it really is. Long before bloodshed comes withdrawal. The producers will hoard and pull back until the populace demands that they have what they're hoarding and what they're pulling back. And at that point, it's not that you're going out to wage war. You're standing at your door with your firearm.
Right, absolutely. Listen,
to protect
that's what I'm saying.
yours.
Within the context of it, right? It's great. Slinky's going to be on the show at some point.
Absolutely.
He's already talked to you about it. I think he probably listening now if he knows we're on, right?
Yeah.
He leans left. Okay,
He doesn't lean left.
He's not. Well, time out. He's not all the way.
He's propped up on the wall.
As I can tell you this, as I hang as a
Slinky.
person who hangs out with the guy a lot, right? It would actually amaze you how pro-life he is, and it would amaze you how many conservative values he holds, but not quite a moderate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's not quite a moderate. That rhetoric from Bevin scared him to death, and he said so. Right? He hopped on there.
The headline that they picked.
And so this is my point. This is my point is when I told you we're being sold a story in America. So our leaders have to be very, very careful and not lazy. Right? Because Slinky's educated. He's a smart guy. He reads a ton. He doesn't like just jump off cliffs and be mad, right? He keeps it pretty chill. Like he's one of the most chill liberals that I know, particularly towards. I mean, look, the guy lives in Bradley County. He's surrounded by conservatives all the time, and he's well liked. He's respected. He does well at his job, and he's got a great family, and right, like all these things. And he was like, "This guy's calling for liberals to be murdered."
Yeah.
Right? So what I'm saying is, you only have that reaction if deep down there's a fear of unrest.
But
so
how
all
many
I'm saying
wars?
is it felt like an irresponsible.
Well, and this is my
thing to
concern. How many wars have
But say it, heck, we say irresponsible things all the time.
Yeah, how many wars have been started in history, both domestic and international,
Yeah.
over a standoff of tension and someone taking what's considered a proactive measure with the anticipation of what someone else might do? And that's my concern.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
Liberals are looking at conservatives and saying, Donald Trump's your champion, and you guys are fixing to do this.
Right.
And conservatives are looking at liberals and saying, you guys are about to do this.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Right.
and then there's all of these folks who are kind of in the middle that are kind of saying, whoa, 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 whoa. But I got involved in an interesting discussion this weekend with a friend of mine who's Canadian. And I always find it interesting that Canadians have more opinions about us than they do themselves.
Sure.
And so, but what I did, I got involved in a discussion over it, and it was over racial tension in the U.S. And essentially my objection was there's a big call from the liberal left right now on racial tensions to call out the passive, which to me seems rather counterintuitive because for people who are fans of history, you know that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X disagreed on this very point, that they believed in mobilizing to affect change in very different ways.
Right, correct.
One was very aggressive, and the other one was let's do the sit-ins, let's do the protests, let's be peaceful resistance. But so much from a very, very left-wing sector on the racial tension issue is not only attacking the bigots in the world, but they're actually attacking those who are inactive or passive, particularly the Christian church. I've read more articles on how white Christian evangelicals are to blame for the death of African Americans in this country than the actual people who pulled the trigger or the actual folks who are committing the crimes.
This is exactly what my point is. I am 100% in agreement. 100%.
So in that instance, going back to what was said with Bevan, it's very, very hard to bring unity when such extreme statements are made. So, I say to this individual,
But somebody's got to do it, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what I said to your buddy. Remember our when we had our very first show? I said, you got to step up. You got to be. I need you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Senator, I need you to be. Congressman, I need you to be. Like we need you to be more than ever because these things. I mean, I can't.
Well, we've missed. This is what I think's happened, and this.
I mean, good grief.
We're manning up, but at this point, I'm manning up on what's in my gut, not what's in my brain. Okay, and this is always dangerous because my gut's not always right. But here's my gut. I think we have misidentified the enemy, and I say we as in all of these people. I said to that individual, white evangelical Christians are not your enemy.
Right.
And they quoted history about how the church was not only passive but even aggressive and rage. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But I just do not think that a person who says, I don't agree with rioting is the problem.
Right.
And likewise, on the conservative side, a battle of ideas is a tough thing. But liberals who want to see their version of freedom at work, that's not the enemy.
Right.
The enemy is the things that cause us. For instance, the enemy in the discussion over redistribution of wealth is poverty.
Right.
If people weren't hungry, if people weren't tired, if people weren't out of work, and this is essentially a Trump argument, right? If people were working, people wouldn't be dissatisfied.
Right.
And so this is what we see, that the real enemy in a lot of ways is poverty. It's not is inequity an enemy? Well, yeah. But it's we argue over which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Does poverty lead to inequity?
This was exactly what was happening. This is exactly what was happening on that post about abortion yesterday. This is I was like, I can't believe that the guy saying, yes, we overturn Roe versus Wade, but also there's a lot of things we can do to help single mothers not feel depressed and incapable.
Yeah, and most of us say, why not both?
That's what I'm saying. No, what I'm saying is I was saying both. And what I was being told was I was ridiculous. That I wasn't that I wasn't blaming the abortion celebrating liberal left enough.
Well, they were accusing you, and for those of you who are familiar with social media, 90% is accusation. It is putting words in other people's mouth. But there is some sense on that issue that we need to define what abortion is before it can be remedied or treated. And there has to be a consensus of whether or not it's murder, which is a legal definition, and that creates a problem.
Right.
But back to Bevan and what he's calling for, I think he's on to something.
You
no matter
liked it.
how,
No, it was clear you like it.
I like it because I think it's this. When I say that a lot of people are sobering up to a drug that is American idealism, it's absolutely correct. We are coming off a cultural high.
Right.
That if we frame it in the context of history, we need to be careful. Mm-hmm. And that most destruction of society comes from an ideological base of civil society. The other side of destruction is invasion and warring tribes, which is usually based in an ideological sense too. But to some degree, we have to be willing to fight, whether figuratively or literally, for the things that matter. Mm-hmm. What matters, that's where we all disagree. And that's kind of the trouble where it's at. I'll give you the last thought on that.
Here's my thing on that is, I believe that we need to take a step as Americans, regardless of media rhetoric, regardless of political rhetoric, and we need to start looking at those things which unite us and work from there into the other problems. And I think that when we do that, we begin to see people as fellow Americans with different ideas, as opposed to liberals or conservatives. And we are spending far too much time in our corners of the ring, and we are spending far too little time working towards making this country the wonderful thing that it could be if we all were okay with the fact that we see things a little different. So we need more from our politicians. We need savvy politicians who are going to work towards a common good, whether they are conservative or whether they are liberal, and we as citizens have to keep them accountable to that.
Well, I've always said this as a person who is a conservative and wants to advance the conservative agenda.
Yeah.
I would rather take converts than prisoners.
Right.
I'd rather take converts than prisoners in any context.
Me too.
That to add people to the force is better than trying to keep captives.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can do that. All right, I'm going to take us to our final headline because we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got
this
like
is my
3 minutes.
Favorite headline of the day.
Okay.
A 92-year-old Nigerian man with 97 wives. And for those of you who are poor at math, that means it's about a wife a year. Okay? Has come out and said openly that he very much is not dead, but is alive and on the market for more wives. So back to inequity in society. I just think it's funny that someone with 92 witnesses to his existence has had to publicly declare that A,
I'm not dead.
I'm not dead, and B, I'm still looking for some more witnesses to my existence.
Wow.
This is funny. I mean, this a 92-year-old. All right, we got to head out of here. I want to say a special thank you to the Shrink, Rob Alderman.
Thank you.
Hey, great shows coming up. Remember, tomorrow we're taking up youth sports again. We got folks from both sports sectors coming in, city and county. Thursday, Steve Watson in the studio from Monster House fame. And next Tuesday, we air our very first gun special. Guys, you don't want to miss that. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Thank you to Talk 101.3 The Buzz for carrying Man Up America, WTNB. This is the good Dr. J. Adam with the shrink Rob Alderman. And guess what? We're out. Peace.